Before I start my series on my personal experiences of entering the Midrealm Arts and Sciences Fair, I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about some of the arts and sciences competitions that we have throughout the kingdom. Because I think a lot of people get a little confused on the various types and kinds and which ones they should actually enter. So, what I did is took a majority of the arts and science competitions that we currently have in the Middle Kingdom and try to put them into a linear Venn diagram. My goal was to try to help other entrants decide which different display or competition is really right for them. Because, quite honestly, not all of them are going to be right for everybody. And the most important thing is to do what's right for you as an individual and to have fun doing it. On the one side, we have the competitions that are non competitive at all. These are the ways that you can go ahead and display some of the cool things that you're just really proud of. On the other side is we have the things that are completely competitive. And in the Middle Kingdom, when we talk about competitive, you're either competing against yourself or the criteria, such as in the regional and kingdom fairs, and I'll cover that a little bit later, or you're competing against somebody else, as in the token or the bean counts. In the middle, you also have a lot of opportunities to show and tell. If you're one of those people that just really enjoy talking about what you do, how you created it, the research process, so those show and tells are going to be more for you. If you're an introvert and you would rather write the documentation but don't want to actually talk about it at all, then maybe the show and tell options are not really what you're looking for. So, if you are one of those people that really like talking about the research, the process, and the finished product, then entering in one of the competitions or displays where you can talk about it might be your best option. This would include the Laurel Prize Tourney, which is a man display where you're there with your items. Laurels and other populace members come around. You have an opportunity to talk about it, the whole process. You receive tokens from both the populace and from Laurels. Sometimes there is a prize at the end sponsored by various Laurels on any sort of different topic. Sometimes it's as simple as a cooking entry. Sometimes it is something that a woman would carry in her everyday activities. The best thing about Laurel Prize tourneys is you get a lot of really great feedback, both from the other entrants as well as from the Laurels who have a specialty in what you're trying to display. Another great opportunity is if you are entering the regional ANS fairs or the Kingdom ANS fairs, you have an opportunity to talk about it, to sell your items, sell the research that you've done to your judges. You also have an opportunity to talk about it with the other entrants. This is my favorite thing about entering the ANS fairs, besides doing the documentation and the process, is I actually really love talking about some of the things that I do. I get very excited. Also, there for those who are not competitive at all, we have the Craftspersons Fair. It is a show and tell where the artisans sit with their item or their display and they talk about it with anybody who's around. There is no competition, there is no prizes. It's just you sitting with the items that you love, that you've created, or display actually creating those items and talking about it with whoever comes by. Some people are incredibly competitive and they actually like to compete. And some people are non competitive and don't like the competitive nature at all. Whichever way you are, it's okay. If you are a competitive individual, the kind of competitions that you would want to look at are doing a token or a bean count. That's where you put out your item and sometimes with documentation, sometimes not, and the populace will come by and they'll put little beans or tokens in a cup in front of your item. Whoever has the most amount at the end will actually win the token or the bean count competition. When it comes to the competitive nature of the regional ANS fair and the Kingdom ANS fair, you actually compete against yourself and you compete against the criteria. All of the criteria is out there, and I'll cover that in another section. But it really is you as an entrant. You get judged about the on the criteria. It is not until the end where you already have your points. They've already decided where people are ranked in places if you're entering the pentathlon, and that will be a completely different uh, recording. However, because you are competing against that criteria, there is that level of competition. So if you are someone who does not enjoy competition, then maybe the ANS fairs are not the best place for you. However, I would like to point out that there is nothing wrong with entering or with not entering ANS competitions. That's the best thing about the Middle Kingdom and the entire SCA is that you don't have to ever enter ANS competitions if you don't want to. However, hopefully there might be one that you can, because there are people like myself who love seeing what everybody else is doing, and this is the easiest way to find out about some of those items. Finally, we have the items for those people that do not want to sit with their item or their display all day. This could be for a variety of reasons. Maybe you want to take part in other activities. Maybe you're organizing other activities at the event. You're running teaching classes, or you're taking part in the fighting or the fencing or the archery, and you just cannot or don't want to stay with your items. That's okay. There's a whole series of different activities that you can go ahead and you can do where you just drop it off at the beginning of the day and you pick it up at the end. This includes normally the token or the bean counts. A lot of events will also have a generic ANS display. This would be the same as a token or bean count without the competitive nature. It's just a place where you can go ahead and you can put down the cool thing that you entered. Normally, documentation is not required, but as someone who loves to read documentation, even if it's not required, I really recommend leaving just a little note card by the entry that tells the people that walk by what it is, who created it, and just some cool documentation facts about it. The best thing about ANS displays is they really add to the medieval atmosphere of the events, and it allows everyone from newcomers to veterans to royalty to walk by and see what's going on in the kingdom. We also have this thing that's not done as often as I think it should be, but it's the authentic artifact showcase. And normally these are done in combination with either libraries or museums, where sometimes the people from the museums will go ahead and bring in actual artifacts. The best thing about this is that it's just really cool to see some of the real life items from the medieval time period or earlier. And also, there's a lot of individual ANS competitions that are done at events. A lot of times, these are themed competitions. I know I'm autocrating an event later on in the year, Swine and Roses, and we're doing an ANS competition of best swine in any medium. So whether or not you put pigs on an illumination, or you knit pigs or pig-like items into like a scarf or hat, those would all be there. And it's a competition where you basically can go ahead and just drop off the item and pick them up at the end, and whoever will be judging them will go ahead and place those and award a winner. The thing with the ANS competition at events is every single one is different, and I highly recommend reading the description for whether or not they require documentation, how much documentation, and do confirm whether or not you need to be present to win. Finally, I just want to go ahead and take a second to show you guys two cool websites. First, of course, is the Midrealm website. If you actually go to the calendar and you look on the right hand side, you see that little blue square. That's the symbol for ANS. That means that there's going to be ANS at that event. If you click on that event, you can actually see what sort of ANS activities are happening. If you go ahead and you click on it, you can see if there's going to be any competitions. This is for 12th night coming across, and there is the Royal ANS competition where you can go ahead and click for more information. The other one is our Middle Wiki website, which I don't think a lot of people know about, but they have a whole section on ANS fairs, ANS competitions, about being an entrant as well as being a judge. There's also really cool things on this website, such as common ANS terms and venues. So if you don't ever understand something that we say, there's a good chance that you can find out the description or definition on the Middle Kingdom Wikipedia.